If you're taking a look at the Edge of Eternities precons and trying to decide if they are worth it to buy, you could look at the World Shaper precon featuring Hearthull, the World Seed, Szarel, Genesis Shepherd as the two commanders, see that it's selling for about $60, and I could tell you that it's got $75 worth of reprints in it. You could take a look at the Counterintelligence precon deck with Inspirit, Flagship Vessel, and Kylo Apogee Mind as the commanders, see that it's selling for about $50, and see that it's got about $150 worth of reprint value in it. Wow. That might be enough to answer your question, but I don't think it tells the whole story. I want to go through both decks a little more intricately, talk about their playability right out of the box and see if that will provide value to you, and also talk about the reprints. Check the timeline and scrub to the deck that you are curious about, but do me a favor, if I help you out at all with this video, hit that subscribe button and share it to somebody else who's wondering about these. Joel R Magic is brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your cards quickly and easily on the internet. TCG Player, the best place to buy them. Dragon Shield, the best way to protect your cards with sleeves. And Moxfield, the only place to put your deck lists on the internet. Let's start with the World Shaper precon. It's got Hearthull, the World Seed, as a spacecraft commander. It's also got Szarel, Genesis Shepherd as the secondary commander there. If you're looking at the commanders in a vacuum and you're judging playability against each other between the two decks, you could look at the two commanders from World Shaper, and I think the build is much more straightforward and just kind of powerful with general cards right out of the box for the Jund deck, the black, red, green deck, over the Counterintelligence Jeskai deck, which is blue, red, white. Hearthull and Szarel are a little straightforward. You're sacrificing lands, you're bringing them back via this Crucible of Worlds type effect on Szarel, Genesis Shepherd, and the entire strategy, I think, has more support overall. Self-mill, land sacrifice, things like that. The two main archetypes that you see in here, lands being one and sacrifice being the second, they're just supported really well in many different sets, and there's going to be a lot of cards that you can upgrade this deck with, and there's going to be more synergies just sort of built into this section of the color pie, where that is mostly what's going on, is land stuff and sacrificing stuff. If you're looking at value straight up, the World Shaper deck has about $45 worth of value just on creatures. You've got a reprint of Morag, Fury of Akum. Now, this is a card that came to us first in Zendikar Rising back in 2020. It's had Year of the Ox promos. It's never gotten new art outside of the Zendikar Rising showcase version, but a reprint here at about $9 is pretty sweet. You've also got Korvold Fey Cursed King. This is a Jund commander option. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could put this at the head of the deck and just have a Korvold deck that's got this space land sacrifice sub-theme, I guess, but it's a good reprint nonetheless. Around $8. Korvold came to us in Throne of Eldraine when it was first printed, and we got a Year of the Dragon promo and a Secret Lair version of it as well, but again, around that $8, $9 mark, pretty sweet to see. Oracle of Moldiah, about $6 for the cheapest copy, $7 that you can get. It's a card that, you know, hasn't been reprinted a ton. Jumpstart, Double Masters 22, Outlaws of Thunder Junction Commander was the last time we saw it pop up, and now Edge of Eternities Commander. Having a $7 card in there is pretty sweet, and then that jumps down to Braids Arisen Nightmare. I'm just really happy they included this card in the deck. This is the kind of card that I would immediately suggest as an upgrade for this deck, and at $5, it's nice that this is just included, and that's about where the value sits with this deck. When you look at the sorceries, you've got about $11.50 on sorceries, the two most expensive being Nature's Lore, which really nice that that's in there, but that's like a $3 card, and Splendid Reclamation's like a $2 card. Again, really cool that it's in there. You don't have to go get yourself a copy. The deck is fairly complete as far as the experience and the build out of the box. There's just not a ton of value on the sorceries. There's not a ton of value on the instance either. There's nothing really to talk about. Quite honestly, in the instance, the most expensive one is Beast Within, and that's like $1. They did include a version of Windgrace's Judgment. That first came to us from Commander 2018 and has since been in New Capenna Commander and Bloomborough Commander, now popping up again in Edge of Eternities Commander. Not anything notable price-wise there. Same with the artifacts. There's a Hammer of Perforos in there, but it's $1. There's nothing really notable. For the lands of this deck, they did include a Fabled Passage, which is kind of nice to have a budget version of a fetch land in a deck specifically that can play lands from the graveyard and get extra value out of those. That's nice to include, but it's only about a $5 value. And then you've got $1.50 on Sulphur Springs, and it goes down from there. Obviously, with these decks, there will be new cards that are included. Cards like Baloth Prime, Scouring Swarm, stuff like Planetary Annihilation. These cards are new and have people excited, but they don't really have value yet. So you can kind of look at the new cards too as a way of justifying the value to see if there's going to be a card in there that will really pop off. But I'll tell you, just watch out for overhyping of cards. Take a look at a card like Renewed Solidarity from the Aether Drift Commander Precons. Now, this card was way overhyped out of the gate, and it was $40 when it previewed, and even stayed over $20 for the first few days of release. It absolutely has crashed since then. It's down to about $6 for that card. So just beware early hype, I guess, is the lesson there. But know that there may be some hidden value in the Precons via the cards that are brand new that we just haven't play tested and don't know where they fit yet. All in all, the World Shaper Precon selling for about $60. It's got about $75 worth of value. Most of that is in the $45 worth of creatures that are included, with Morag, Fury of Akum at about $9, Korvold, Fake Cursed King at about $8.30, and then Oracle of Moldiah just under $7. I will say though, the deck serves as an excellent base of a graveyard lands sort of deck. If you don't have that archetype and you want a bunch of the pieces just like right out of the gate, Hearthull, the World Seed in the World Shaper Precon, has definitely got your back. They've included a lot of solid stuff, even though there's not a ton of value, with cards like Nature's Lore, Splendid Reclamation, Aftermath Analyst. They even put a copy of Braids Arisen Nightmare. That's around a $5 card, but goes excellent in a sacrifice, lands, graveyardy type deck. The Counterintelligence Precon featuring Inspirit Flagship Vessel and Kylo Apogee Mind, or Kilo. I've been criticized. Call it what you want. I've been pronouncing it Kylo like the Star Wars character. I think out of the box, the strategy here is a little less straightforward than the Graveyard Lands Recursion World Shaper deck. Counterintelligence is going to have some tricky stuff to do. We're putting counters on stuff, we're proliferating stuff, we're moving counters around, our artifact creatures are being created and attacking. We're using stuff like Organic Extinction to keep our artifact creatures on the battlefield while wiping everybody else's stuff. The deck, however, contains about $150 worth of value at time of announcement, and it's selling for $10 less currently, as I'm making this video, than the World Shaper deck. I have a feeling that's going to change once people see the value of the reprints in this one, but depending on when you're watching this, just knowing that at $148.94, this deck comes out of the gate hard. It's got some serious stuff. If you look at the creatures, $64 worth of creatures in there, and that's because we got a $16 reprint of Tekuthel Inquiry Dominus. If you would proliferate twice instead, yeah, dude, that is the kind of reprint I want to see in decks like this. We also got a reprint of Alabu Ancient Witness. Other artifact creatures you control have haste, and whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attack, meaning Alabu doesn't even have to attack, Alabu Ancient Witness deals X damage to any target, and you scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control. This is a card that hasn't reappeared since Commander 2021, and I keep suggesting it to artifact decks that have red and white in the identity, so it's excellent to see it in here. We also got Cyberdrive Awakener. Now, Cyberdrive Awakener is from a much more recent set with Neon Dynasty Commander, but it hasn't been reprinted since then. We got the regular frame in the deck, and we got the extended frame that you couldn't open in the Precon. You had to get that out of packs. $12 for a Neon Dynasty rare right now. Other artifact creatures you control have flying, and when it ETBs until end of turn, each non-creature artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/4. Fill up your battlefield with treasures, cast Cyberdrive Awakener. All of those treasures become 4/4s, and they take to the sky. Also notable in the creatures, we got Joyra Weatherlight Captain around $6 there, and then it jumps down to Phyrexian Metamorph at just under $4, but some excellent inclusions there. The board wipe that I mentioned, Organic Extinction, that's the most expensive sorcery at about $1, about $3 worth of sorceries there. Nothing super exciting. We did get about $27 worth of instants, and that's because we got Ripples of Potential reprinted in this deck. So good. Proliferate, then choose any number of permanent permanents you control that had a counter put on them this way, those permanents phase out. It's a proliferate spell that also saves your stuff. I love Ripples of Potential, and this is one that we haven't had a lot of copies of. Only the Lost Caverns of Ixalan Commander deck had this. You could get the extended in packs like with the other. But having Ripples of Potential in here is excelente. We also got a $10 instant with Swan Song. Counter target enchantment, instant or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying. We haven't seen this one since we were in Lord of the Rings land. We did get a copy in Secret Lair, but you know, we're not going to count those as true reprints because those just shoot up anyway. But again, a great counter spell to include in this deck. Our artifacts have about $24 worth of value, driven largely by Dark Steel Reactor at $12.70. It's indestructible. You can put a charge counter on it, and you know charge counters play well with Inspirit at the beginning of your upkeep, and then if it has 20 or more charge counters on it, you win the game. You've also got Cloud Key in this deck at about $4. You're entering, you're probably choosing Artifact with this deck. Makes spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. And this is a card that we haven't seen since Brothers War. But with Brothers War, we got retro versions, we got retro sketch versions, we got a serialized version that you can get for $225 on the low right now if you want. This one we had only seen in Future Sight and Time Spiral Remastered prior to that. Those two retro versions from Brothers War plus the serialized really drove the price down of this one since we hadn't really seen it that much, but at around $4, still a nice inclusion. They put a resourceful defense in here. We just got this in the Final Fantasy precons, and then the lands, there's nothing really to write home about. You've got a Karn's Bastion at about $3, which is nice in a proliferate deck, but again, not a ton of value there. We also got a Mycosynth Gardens included, which is about $3, also nice. Keep in mind that you're going to have value outside just the reprints in these decks. The new cards will have value, and they could potentially have 1 or 2 in the precons that have a lot of value. That happens occasionally where one card really breaks out, but beware of the early hype. I said this on the World Shaper deck, but I want to repeat it in case you're just watching this one. The early hype of a card like Renewed Solidarity, can really pop that price off and make it overly expensive, whereas in reality, it's going to fall over the next few months after that because these precons are printed pretty heavily, especially those base frame versions that come in the decks. These precons are available for a long time. They'll be on sale in Amazon carts for, you know, like a year from now. You're going to be buying this set's precons on Prime Day. So just watch out for early hype on cards, making the prices go into the stratosphere. You don't have to pay that if you just have a little patience. The Counterintelligence deck, selling as I'm making this video for about $50, contains $150 worth of value. It's kind of crazy. The creatures with $64 worth of value, having Hearthull, Inquiry Dominus, Alabu, Ancient Witness, Cyberdrive Awakener, down to Joyra, Weatherlight Captain at about $7, Phyrexian Metamorphs in there about $4, but Cyberdrive Awakener at $12, Alabu at $13.50, and Hearthull, Inquiry Dominus at $16. 3 real heavy hitter creature reprints in here. We also got 2 instants with Ripples of Potential and Swan Song that are both sick, both over $10 reprints there. And they gave us a Dark Steel Reactor so that we've got a win the game charge counter thing to do with our commander. That card's like $13. What a reprint. Really sweet value on this deck, and I think people are underhyped on this one versus the World Shaper deck. That's the value and playability breakdowns for these 2 decks. Let me know if you're picking either of these up. I'll tell you, for me, I wasn't going to get either of these decks because I wasn't really interested, and I have stuff like this already built, but the amount of staples across these 2 decks and the fact that at least even the World Shapers over break even with value, and the Counterintelligence deck is super over in value. But I'm actually going to be grabbing both of these decks, I think, to act like little commander deck building farms for me. There's all 5 colors represented across both of the decks, and there are staple cards in here. Thirst for Knowledge, Dispatch, Swan Song on the value reprint side, Oracle of Moldiah on the other, Nature's Lore, Sky Shroud Claim, just really staple-ish cards in these. Plus, you've got some hits that drive the value up. That's what I think. I want to talk to you about what you think. If you liked the video at all, if you're still here, you probably did. Hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, hit that like button and share it with a friend if you have. And go check out the Patreon if you want to plug into the community on a little deeper level. Get some rewards for doing so. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.